Good afternoon, everyone. It's a real pleasure to welcome you here to our Macquarie Business School Leadership Series and today's really exciting event. I'm greatly looking forward to it, on entrepreneurship across borders. Let me begin by acknowledging the traditional custodians of this land, the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, and pay my respects to elders past and present. And as we gather here today at our city campus in Sydney to share stories of entrepreneurs who've built bridges across borders and cultures, it's fitting to recognise that the Gadigal people have been connecting, innovating and trading on this country for tens of thousands of years. Their history reminds us that the exchange of knowledge and culture has always been at the heart of strong communities. Just as our speakers have bridged cultures and built connections across borders, this acknowledgement reminds us that every great endeavour begins with listening, understanding and respect for the people and place around us. So tonight's event is going to be absolutely terrific. Our theme is entrepreneurship across borders, and that theme speaks to a world where talent, ideas and capital move faster than ever before. Migrant entrepreneurs are at the heart of this transformation, creating businesses that don't just cross borders but connect cultures and markets in powerful ways. And there's great synergy here with what's important to us at Macquarie Business School. We're really proud in our roles to be shaping leaders for this new global economy and new global reality. Our strengths at Macquarie Business School interact beautifully with today's theme, and I want to just highlight a few of those. The first is our focus on career impact, and we're really proud that we've recently been ranked #1 in Australia for career impact by AFR Boss for the second year running, which is terrific. And that's thanks to our co-designed programs with industry, our strong employability focus and our integrated professional experiences for students that prepare them for truly global careers. We're also really proud of our global rankings. We're consistently ranked as a university among the top 1% of universities in the world, and our master's programs in the Macquarie Business School in Applied Finance and Marketing are ranked #1 in Australia. We have a very strong entrepreneurial ecosystem at Macquarie University, and I think you'll be hearing a little bit more about that from at least one of our speakers tonight. So through our Macquarie University Incubator, we provide founders with networks, with mentorship and with resources to scale their ventures internationally. Since 2020, startups in our Macquarie University Incubator have raised over $88 million in funding and generated $43 million in revenue. We're very proud of our industry partnerships and our global outlook at Macquarie Business School. We build our programs with industry, we have strong ties with global business and research networks. And finally, we're really proud of our mission to do research that solves society's biggest challenges, and you'll be hearing more about some of that research tonight. So today's conversation brings these great Macquarie Business School strengths to life, and together we'll be exploring some journeys, challenges and opportunities that define the next generation of global entrepreneurs. And importantly, I think, and very personally important to me, tonight is a great reminder that diversity and inclusion aren't just values that we talk about as being important to us at Macquarie Business School, but they're real drivers of innovation and impact, both in our classrooms and in the world of business. So with that by way of introduction, I want to start with a bit of audience participation. Can you please raise your hands if you're working in or have founded a business with international reach or global clients? So you're working in or have founded a business that has international reach or global clients? Me too, most of us. How many of you work in culturally diverse or migrant-led teams? I do too. How many of you would like to found something global one day? That is great to see. You will get great insights from our speakers tonight. I want you to turn to the person next to you just to kick things off. Take a few seconds, share one word that you think captures your biggest challenge in working across borders. So have a think, turn to the person next to you. What's a word that captures the biggest challenge? Okay, would you like to share? Would you like to share your biggest challenge? Curt, why don't you start? Your biggest challenge? Okay, we've got a suggestion from one of our speakers. Let's share our challenges. So Curt has shared always people. Any other suggestions? Anyone else like to share their biggest challenge? Being objective while managing different cultures. Great. Any others? Any other suggestions? Being objective while operating across cultures, people. What else? Culture. Okay, so I think we're seeing a real theme, culture and people, and that'll be very much something that we cover in our panel discussion. So thank you very much for that, and let me now move on to our panel discussion. And we're really fortunate tonight to have three absolutely incredible panellists. They've built success stories that cross countries and industries, and they'll be sharing what it really takes to scale ideas, to navigate risk, to lead with purpose, and to solve some of these tricky challenges. So please welcome up to the stage Aloysius Chong to start. Aloysius is founder of Simple Limited, a Singapore-based robotics and IoT company that has scaled globally and is listed on NASDAQ as of 2023. Aloysius bridges Asia and Australia through the Macquarie Incubator, combining deep tech entrepreneurship with cross-cultural leadership. And his journey shows how a migrant founder can grow a hardware-software business beyond local borders. Welcome, Aloysius. Welcome also to Sheba Nandkeolyar, who's CEO and founder of MultiConnexions Group, which is Australia's leading multicultural marketing agency. And that agency helps brands and government engage the country's diverse communities. She's also president of the International Advertising Association of Australia and Global VP for Diversity, Equity and Inclusion, advocating for inclusive innovation and migrant entrepreneurship. Warm welcome to Sheba. And finally, Curt Shi. Welcome, Curt. Curt is a serial entrepreneur turned global investor. He's built and backed ventures across China, Israel, the US and Australia. As founding partner of Imprint Capital Partners and Pro Digital Future Fund, and an early investor in projects like STEPN, Catapult Sports and others. He often speaks about how immigrant founders bring resilience, creativity and global perspectives that outperform traditional investment models. Please join me in welcoming again our three speakers. Okay, so let's get this discussion underway. I hope you can hear me. We're going to start by talking about journeys and the journeys that each of you have had. So migrant entrepreneurs, of course, aren't just about individuals moving countries. It's about the movement of ideas, energy, and capital between worlds. So I'm really keen to start with your personal stories about those journeys. So first up, Aloysius, you founded Simple in Singapore and you took it to a NASDAQ listing. And that's, I'm sure, been an incredible journey. Can you walk us through the key moments? And especially, can you tell us of one particularly challenging time that you have had to navigate and how you got through it?
Thank you. Thanks, Leonie. Thanks, everyone. I've been very blessed to have been in Sydney for the past 3.5 years now, coming from Singapore. So some background of my journey. I was a diplomat maybe about 12 years ago, based in Canberra. And then went back to Singapore, went back to the government service, rotated a little bit, and then one day decided, hey, like innovation, being innovative, being an entrepreneur is really what I want. So got together with a couple of my mates. We started to look at robotics and AI. And this was very early in the days. We were one of the pioneers for cleaning and security robots in Singapore. Right now, if you go to Singapore, almost every shopping mall, every transport hub, you'll see a robot working. In the days that we were there, it was really new. We strived through, I still remember working 6 days a week alongside cleaners, really learning the industry, striving through. And that's kind of the startup culture that we have in Singapore. Going through an entire, growing the company, in the end, I think we have presence in about 8 countries. Right now in Singapore, we are probably the leader in FM technology. Maybe about 700 to 800 robots deployed across Singapore. And the NASDAQ listing was really the highlight of our journey. But listing has pros and cons. I think for a small little startup, we always thought, wow, if you list, that's like the epitome, like what everyone really wanted to go. Like the branding is there, made it so easy to have like conversations with partners, with clients. But on the flip side, for a startup which thrives on innovation, thrives on speed, we suddenly had this whole load of accountability. We had this whole load of corporate governance, something that we weren't used to as startup entrepreneurs. So we had to hire like a lot of like professionals. In the end, we had to hire a professional CEO. And that's where I kind of stepped down from my role because I love to innovate. So right now I'm on my 2nd startup, and I'm actually based at Macquarie Incubator at Macquarie University, and love the whole ecosystem. Yeah, so that's my journey.
Great. And was there a particular challenge that stopped you in your tracks for a bit that you had to solve?
Yeah, I guess when you go through the growth process, it's always a tussle between what you can innovate, what you can say, and corporate governance. We saw it as a challenge for us, but it wasn't in the same, or rather we weren't very comfortable with growing up. I see it as stages of growing up within a company. You go from startup to a proper corporate, and then you have to have all of these layers on. But for entrepreneurs, it kind of felt different. Yes. So that's why we had to hire professionals.
Great, thank you. And so interesting that you love that stage, the very early stage, and I'm sure you are very skilled at bringing in others who enjoy other parts of that journey too. So to Sheba next, when you arrived in Australia, you spotted something that others seemed to be missing at that time, which is the power of multicultural consumers and diaspora communities and networks. So what gave you the confidence to, act on that insight, and how did that play out for you?
Thanks, Leonie. So it's an actually very interesting journey. Very passionate about marketing, very passionate about the person in front of you. So marketing is all about the other person. It's not about you. And companies and brands get it wrong when they are trying to look at themselves inwardly and saying, this is my product benefit. Also, sometimes they get it wrong when they don't see the other person, what that other person looks, feels, or wants. So my career started with McCann World Group. So it started in India. That's where I finished my MBA, joined them. Got posted to both UK as well as their New York headquarters, and had the opportunity at that time to work on 2 multinational clients, including Coke, which took me to several countries, Asian countries. And that is where you realize that revenue is not dependent just on what the headquarters decide to do. Revenue is dependent on your customers. Do they feel included? Do they feel they belong? Do they feel this message is for me? Do they feel this product is for me or not? And that's where I discovered the power of cultural connectivity and how important culture is. When I arrived in Australia, the first thing that hit me was 1 in 3 didn't look a mainstream Australian. They definitely had a migrant or a multicultural background, right? And then when I started working with brands, I realized, oh my gosh, like they're still looking at that old one-size-fits-all strategy where they still have the mainstream profile of audience. And it was quite interesting, and I realized Australia is going to be a migrant country. It is an aging population. More and more of our dependents are going to be, whether we like it or not, international students, new migrants, professional migrants, business migrants. And when you think of setting up a business, you always look at the future. And I saw the future there. So today, think about it, Leonie, from 1 in 3, today we are 1 in 2. So that's the power. And I'm so glad that I did set up this company, which today is Australia's literally iconic agency.
And do you feel that Australia still underestimates that culture that we do have and doesn't?
Oh, totally. This is such a discussion I've had with so many people, and they say, "Oh, where is the contribution?" And I tell them, "Don't worry. One day I will tell all the migrant health service workers not to come to the hospitals, and then you will see what the contribution is. Or one day we'll tell all the IT guys, don't worry about digital transformation, don't worry about digital processes. Take leave for 1 week." I'm telling you, everything will ground to a halt. So that's the powerful contribution that migrants and multicultural audiences have made. Yet to feel, I'd say that most of the Australians, I don't think quite understand it. So when you see all these strikes happening and everything happening, and I'm wondering, guys, don't you understand that you may not even be able to get onto the train and get back home if you didn't have these guys here? So I would say huge contribution.
Thank you. Coming to you now, Curt. So you've lived and invested across 4 continents. From your perspective, what qualities do immigrant entrepreneurs bring that make them more likely to succeed globally?
I do see there are common ground for people in Australia and in other places as well. So as I have been a venture capitalist for more than 20 years, we basically trying to look a few things for all these funders from whatever background in general. Number one is the aspiration rather than the inspiration. I totally believe in what Steve Jobs said, stay hungry and stay foolish. The first half is mainly for entrepreneurs. And the second half is for the so-called venture capitalists. We try to believe in this powerful funders from Taiwan. And number two, we try to see the funders who do the addressable market with a certain problem-solving subjects. So the market needs to be big enough to be scalable enough. In today's world, of course, we have been paying a lot of attention in technology. And the number three, I just as talked earlier with the colleagues, and I believe that the methodology is very, very important. The funders need to find their own methodologies to solve problems, to keep the company move on. But here is a little bit tricky because methodology could be different for everyone. Probably everyone need to find their own special methodologies for what they are doing, for what they are building. And number four is a bit relevant to number three, is that people need to be in the right networking. You need to be with the right people. Just, of course, Macquarie University B School is the right networking. So basically, you need to be with the people can communicate with you, can give you some mentorings, things like that. So so networking is also a thing we look at. It's very simple. Like we look at what kind of university you attended, what kind of company you worked before, what kind of people can give you proper reference, things like that. So these are the 4 elements. And also this is basically our methodologies to look for the distinct funders so far. Thank you.
Great. I love that. I love stay hungry and foolish. I think that's a good rule for life, right? So an extra question to build on that, and I'll address it to anyone on the panel that would like to weigh in. But we have here Professor Jiming Cheng, who's a entrepreneurship researcher, and his research and research of others has suggested that adversities that migrants face, navigating a new country, overcoming obstacles, can perhaps build the kind of qualities that make for really great entrepreneurs, like resilience, adaptability, resourcefulness. Do you see that in your own experience? Do you think there's weight to that finding? And also, what is it that makes some people turn challenge into positive upside? Because clearly not everyone is able to do that.
Me? Yeah. My answer would be definitely, I totally with that. Also, sometimes I found that it's so-called migrant advantage or kind of a traveler or visitor advantage. Sometimes, for instance, I was based in Beijing before I just moved back to Australia 2019. Between 2014 and 2019, I was traveling here from time to time. Actually, every time here, I kind of enjoyed that visitor advantage because you get a lot of time and specialized treatment meeting different people. But when you finally, I finally moved back to Australia, things a little bit different, but still, as what the research said, I believe that especially for Asian people, for Chinese people, we totally believe that the challenge could be your opportunity. That basically in a lot of I'm not sure if everyone, but in a lot of East Asians' blood, we believe the risks, the problems also means opportunities to you. This is in our blood. So then we try to find methodology again to solve these issues. So I'm totally with that conclusion. Yeah.
I'd like to add to that as well. I think limited resources constrains you, and that leads you to find a better way out. So just to share, I think over the past 10 years, I probably moved 7 times. My wife hates it. She's like, why do we have to move again? But to me, it's a new thing. It's great. Like, I love challenges. I love the fact that sometimes when you are constrained, the best ideas come out. I remember times when our startup was like really young. We had to go without salary. I probably only had a few $100s in my bank account. But that's where we really started to think out of the box. And I think the difference between kind of pivoting around your constraints and grit is the one that makes an entrepreneur successful. Yeah, the people who are just pivoting just because it's an easier way out, then that's where they might fail.
For me, I think first and foremost, what I would like to congratulate anyone who's decided to take the leap across the seas and to come either for their international education or they are a new migrant. You've already shown yourself to be something different than the ordinary. It takes a lot of courage. It takes a lot to actually live and take that leap. Leave behind all that you've known, the security of family, friends, education, school, college, everything, and come to a new country and start anew. One thing they all have in common, and that also includes not just entrepreneurs, but also new migrants and international students, a very big dream and vision. And that is why I find, and Professor, I actually, when I received your education and decided to have a quick look at your white paper, it was fascinating because he's just got what it takes for a new migrant. Why they're successful? Because they have left behind everything. They know they have nothing else to fall back on. And like you said, when you have very little, you'll come out with innovative ideas, innovative ways of operating. And more important, I think that big vision, that dream that you have, you don't want to be seen as a failure. And yes, you will have a lot of knock, and we did, all of us did. There'll be a lot of ups and a lot of downs, but the new migrant or the migration entrepreneurial quality is about persistence and passionate about what you want to do. You won't give up. That's it.
Wonderful. Let's talk a little bit more about that transition. I'll go to you, Aloysius. So when moving from Singapore to Australia, what surprised you most about operating in Australia? And also what really helped you? And what could Australia do to, help immigrant entrepreneurs navigate that transition more easily?
Yeah, so when we moved over, one of the reasons was for my company to expand our presence in Australia. And we thought that Australia was a natural fit, a natural market for us. Singapore and Australia being rather similar in culture, in mindset. But when we really expanded here, then we realized that there's actually a key difference in mindset. So I'll touch a little bit on Singapore first. So the Singapore mindset's very innovative in a way that we are risk takers. When we were doing robotics, when we were selling it, a lot of our clients were like, okay, I want to be the first. Paid us, did the trials, and then they deployed it. They were willing to accept that the robots weren't working 100% all the time. They were willing to accept that breakdowns could happen. But that's probably the culture that Singaporeans grew up with, like we adapt and we live. When we moved to Australia, we moved also because a lot of Aussie companies put their hands up and say, yeah, I would love to be the first to innovate. I love technology. But we slowly realized that when the Aussies mentioned that they wanted to innovate, they wanted to trial. I think the typical companies in Australia are more risk adverse. They would look at their competition and say, oh, if they haven't implemented, I shouldn't implement first. I don't mind trialing it, but I would not pay until my competitors pay. So that was one of the key insights that we had, that we were like, oh, wow, we are so similar, but yet so different at the same time. So that's one of the challenges that we faced. Yeah.
Thank you. Let's now talk about not just the transition, but also scaling up. And I'll come to you, Curt. So you've backed companies like STEPN. When you see that a venture is ready to scale, what are the key factors that tell you that the venture is ready? And perhaps sometimes the product is ready, but the founders may not be. What are your insights about when the time is right to scale?
This is a very big and good question, but the simple answer is I really don't know. We try to know. As a venture capitalist, we don't know when, but we keep trying as well. But of course, there are a lot of signals. Again, we tend to, number one, look at in the Chinese saying when you want to achieve something, you need to be the right place, right timing, and you need to have the right people. So, but when is the right time? This is very, very, very tricky. I mean, I talked with Aloy on the robotics business, also a lot of others. I mean, everyone knows that AI sector has been going through some big changes since OpenAI times. But people in the, I'm not sure it's right, last gen AI, if they are trying to do something in the old framework, now they're suddenly facing the new environment. Sometimes it could be very, very tricky. So going back to that, of course, we try to tend to find the right industry, number one. And number two, we try to just find the right person, again, which fall into the four elements I just talked about. I mean, we believe if there's the right people, they probably in a better position knowing the answer than I do. Again, most of the venture capitalists, they don't know exactly when the company gonna take off, but we try to invest in the right people and in a right manner, helping and providing a lot of interesting networking and supporting. Then everything else, we just leave it for the luck, probably. I'm not sure if I answered this question.
That sounds like a very realistic answer to that question, and very interesting. So Sheba, let's talk about people and culture, because what came through clearly in our audience participation session at the start is just the critical importance of culture and people in scaling and going global. What do you think the pitfalls are when it comes to culture? What are the aspects that companies don't get right? And also, how can companies make sure they stay authentic when they go across cultures?
Sure. So, in our company, we've actually had a fair bit of global work which happens, whether it's in South Korea for one of the universities here in Australia, or for Rare Cancers Australia, doing a marketing database across 6 different countries. So it's really a whole, but one thing I can tell you very clearly, which is a clear standout, is culture, cultural understanding of that country, cultural understanding of that region. Because even let's look at India or China or even India, let's say 31 states. Each state is so different from each other. They have different languages, different ways of celebrating, different aspirations, different needs. So it is very important to understand the localized culture. That's one. And cultural, when I say cultural understanding, it means cultural sensitivity. Number 2, of course, is language. So very often companies go across and straight away, start translating, and Google Translator is so cheap, so even better, without context, and it is absolutely shocking because it is not authentic. So whatever you're trying to achieve in that country, it's not going to happen because they look at that one language and say, oh no, we certainly don't want to be with this brand. So you've lost it. The third thing I do believe, because I think you spoke about networking. I always say your net worth is equal to your network. So choose your events. Like, for example, this is a great event where, hopefully you'll go back with some, nice insights, etc. But then sometimes you just turn up and, for sake of turning up, don't do that. Choose your events wisely, meet your people. These networks are so important because in order to scale up globally, let me tell you, you need your networks and relationships. And finally, I would say, Leonie, it's definitely the relationships. Relationships are so important. Now, I sit, as you just, kind of mentioned in my CV, as a global board member of the International Advertising Association of, it's a global board. And we have 56 countries. We're present in 56 countries. I have an amazing relationship with most of the presidents. And they never understand how come you find the time to keep in touch and connect with everyone, wish them a happy Diwali or a Lunar New Year or whatever, it might be. It's those little touches that play. But when I need some work or help or a relationship, within seconds, those presidents of the countries come up with the right one. I'll give you a small example. For example, I was doing a research, and yes, I could have gone to Nielsen and some of the bigger guys. They're all on my board. But I wanted a boutique agency, and they asked me, why do you want a boutique agency? I said, because I want the owner to be involved. I want the owner to be deeply involved in the strategy and the delivery. And they actually got me exactly that person in Korea. And, when we finished the research, this particular university basically turned around and said, that's the best piece of research we have ever done. So I think globally, if you can build your relationships, it really works well, and cultural sensitivity.
Thank you so much. That leads on beautifully to our next theme, which is about building capability. So turning to you, Aloysius, you've led innovation teams across industries and regions. What do you think the really important capabilities are? And obviously we're here from Macquarie Business School. How can universities help to develop those capabilities?
Yeah. So I came from business school as well. I graduated, I think, 2009, but from National University of Singapore. When I was choosing my course of study, business was like the most wanted course. So I was deciding engineering, business. In the end, I went business because, it was cool and sexy. I think sometime in 2015 to maybe around the COVID period, a lot of focus turned into technical. Like the number one degree to go to is computer science or engineering. That's because everyone's like, okay, we need the skills. The business people, we can learn that along the way. But I think now with AI and how AI could really help in a lot of the technical work that we do, the focus has now shifted back to business because it is no longer about how you can do it. It is what you want to do with it. I think the ideation part and how you could commercialize something, I think that's now being pushed all the way right to the top. So if you're here as a business grad, a business student, I think you're in the right place. I think now the business people have been really pushed back into the limelight. I think what capabilities would help you to succeed, it's really, I think the networks will really help, but it's to really think out of the box. Like, I think the businesses that are interesting, or at least in my view, are the businesses that are new, that people haven't looked in that direction. And I feel that with AI, with technology, so many things could happen that could really help change the way how we do. It could really help mankind. And that, I think, would really define how we are going to live in the future. For example, I personally think home assistants, humanoids are going to come. How are we going to make the most out of it? And that would change our lives. Like, I know now Tesla has launched the FSD in Australia. That still requires a driver there. But if one day a driver is not required, I don't have to do any school pickups. I'll just send a car to the school, pick up my children. When I come to city for a dinner date with my wife, we'll just take the car, and then, the car can go home and I don't have to pay parking. But I guess thinking out of the box is something that most people don't have. When you just start working in a corporate and just being sucked into that corporate world, sometimes your view just narrows. Sometimes you just need to take yourself out, look around, and see what can you do to change the world. Then your ideas will come.
I'm worried about my step count in this new world. I'm not sure it's going to be very high if I'm not going to the kitchen to get my own cups of tea. Yeah, fascinating. Sheba, let's come to you. So as we think about individuals developing capabilities and the kinds of capabilities that are important, I'd now like to turn to you to talk about teams and bringing together diverse teams. And you've done joint research with one of our academics at Macquarie Business School,
Yes.
Associate Professor Meena Shivan. You've written a book together that looks at migrant entrepreneurs and how they act as build bridges and build cultural diversity. Can you share with us how you see culturally diverse teams bringing much better outcomes as a result of that diversity?
Thank you so much. I was actually going to thank you for the question, because I was actually planning to bring that up. Dr. Meena and myself co-authored a book which was on migrant entrepreneurial success, especially migrants, very successful migrants in Australia. So we kind of did a case study and really looked at what is it that they... So first and foremost, I would say that when you talk about team, first you need to talk about yourself. Because very often it is so easy to blame people. Oh, my team did not perform. My people did not perform. The processes were not right. And invariably, I go back, the brief was not right. So first and foremost, we as a CEO and a founder need to be crystal clear about your brief and what are the expectations. I would say the first and foremost thing is don't look at timesheets. It's archaic. Look at outcome. And especially when you're working across teams, and I know the whole idea is, oh, this person is not working, that person is shirking, that person doesn't open their... believe me, most people, 90%, if not 95%, are really true to what they're doing. So it's all about outcome. Coming to teams, really tapping on the best diversity in terms of capabilities is so good. You'll find there are some people who think outside the box. There are some people who are great at networking. Indians are actually very good socially at networking, okay? Asians and Chinese are very good at sitting and really getting it right, They don't like just too many distractions. Make the best of your team. Don't expect everybody to be the same, because they all contribute to the... It is so hard and I find it very, very distressing when I find sometimes when I go for founder meetings, etc. Oh, my team, why can't they be like me? I don't want my team to be like me. Can you imagine 10 people just like you? No way. You want everyone to be different, to be able to contribute. And I think, Leonie, coming back to the fact that when you look at global teams, and we've done this like in so many different assignments that we do, it actually really contributes to much richer fabric. So, and for that, you cannot look at your typical KPIs. As I said, timesheets are old. Look at the outcome. And the outcome is always, as you said, thinking outside the box, tapping on new. Something I do want to share is my dad. I learned this very early in life, and he's a finance guy. And I asked him, can you give me a tip? He said, yes. I said, so what is the tip? He said, what I do. I said, what do you do? He said, every time I get a file for approval, it lies there on my table. After a day, they come and they say, is it approved, sir? And he says, no, he was in the government, by the way, very senior in the finance ministry too. No, you have to do better. I said, but you didn't even read that file. Yes, I do it 2 times. Third time, when it comes back, it is the best ever use of budget allocation because they keep bringing the budgets down and really increase the innovative thinking. So I would say, not that I'm recommending that, but I did think that was a good one where, you said budgets are getting lesser and lesser now, even globally. So to do more with what you have less is today. And for that, richness of the team is a big one.
You've given me a great idea. Thank you. Curt, let's come to you. So as we think about culturally diverse teams, what's important in leading those types of teams?
This is a very, very big topic. I mean, because as everyone said, you got to respect, you got to understand, you got to communicate with the people in right way. And also, I would like to argue our infrastructure has changing fundamentally in the last few years, like AI, like other technologies. I mean, also with a more frequent and easy way of knowledge sharing, people are actually more and more understanding each other in a better way. So I would like to argue that the barrier for the so-called cross-cultural or intercultural communication become much easier because, like I remember when I firstly went to US, the time in China, we just opened a few McDonald's a fast food store. But nowadays, everyone in China, they're watching American cartoons when they're very, very young. So sometimes, also thanks for my Macquarie major back in the day, I was majored in international communication. We did learn a lot of cross-cultural and interpersonal, intercultural communication things, which was fascinating to me that time. And it's really helped me a lot in shaping my interpersonal skills in dealing with people. So far as Leonie previously said, we are not a big fund. We managing probably in total 300 million US, but we do work with people in different part of the world. Like we work with Swedish, we work with Israelis, Jewish people, and Australian Americans. I'm trying to working with more people like the rising up like Indian and Vietnamese, which I'm learning more and more. I think one of the key things also for the leaders is keep learning and be updated and be real and be authentic to the people. Then that's it, I think. Yeah.
Great, thank you. We'll shortly go to a Q&A round, so please start to give thought to your pressing questions. But as you're doing that, let me pose a few rapid-fire kind of lightning round questions to all our panellists. First up, what's one word that describes your entrepreneurial journey? If you had to pick one word.
Oh, mine's certainly passion. Without passion, I think, yeah, my life will be in ruins. It's the passion that keeps me going day and night. Like I could wake up at 3 a.m. and then start working again just because like an idea hit. And I think it's really passion that drives me.
Passion. 100%. If you're passionate and you love what you do, believe me, you'll start with whatever energy you have at the beginning of the day and end up with double the energy at the end of the day. And really, and I know Dr. Meena and myself studied a lot of case studies, and everywhere practically passion was the number one reason why they were an entrepreneur and they did so well. So I would say very much the passion. Yeah.
Curt, passion?
Let me say something different. I would like to say take risks and just do the things right. That's it.
That leads on nicely to the next one. What's a mistake that taught you more than success ever did? We'll start with you, Curt, since you mentioned taking risks.
Maybe I use my examples when I started doing investment in Australia. I came back to Australia in 2014. Before that, I was more in China and traveling to US a lot more. So I thought, of course, I understand better for the venture world, but Australia actually very, very different. So also I was very lucky. First few of my investment here in 2014 really did well. Like my first investment, as Leonie just said, it's called Catapult Sports, which continually giving us better returns and exciting and the surprises. So I thought in my narrow mindset at that time, I thought Australia is difficult to deliver big scale unicorn kind of companies. That then made me easily refuse investing into some of the biggest companies in Australia, such as, well, a lot of the number one, number two companies, probably you know, I don't want to mention the name. In Australia, I did refuse to invest in them back in the day, like in 2015. But then through learning, we did try to come back. So then we did find some good ones. When I secondly come to Australia in 2019, we did really well in distributed finance, crypto startups, and also we did find some good ones in AI this time. They're among some of the best in Australia. So this is my sharing for that. Thank you.
Thank you. Sheba, a mistake that taught you more than success?
I would say the mistake made by me, and my take is very different. I believe Australia has a lot of governance, a lot of low risk to doing things, but my experience has been actually very good. And it actually helped my business to set up also, and I really want to be positive about it. So first and foremost is, I have to share, when I first came into this country and joined an agency initially before I started on my own, and our chairman said, somebody has just come in. Would you like to meet him? And I said, sure. Who is it? Oh, he's the health minister, and they'll be briefing us about such and such a project. And I met him, and then I said, but I didn't see your car. And this was none other than, that time, the health minister was Tony Abbott, before he was the former prime minister. He said, yeah, my car was outside. I said, there was a battered old, Toyota, 20-year-old. He said, that's my car. And okay, that was a big lesson for me, because I came from a country where the ministers would run around with 10 cars behind them, 10 cars in front of them, the lights flashing all over the place, hogging the whole road. And here it is, this is such an humble person sitting there, and he's supposed to be a federal health minister. So I thought that was absolutely amazing. I found that Australians had a certain degree of authenticity, very open, and very willing to help you. I know very often people joke about mate, but mate truly does exist. And I think all these things really opened up my eyes, which actually helped my business. It's a mindset change too. Yeah. Yes, there's governance. Yes, there's risk, but for a reason.
Right.
Thank you.
I think one of the things I learned during my journey, so money to any business and entrepreneur is really important. But I always tell all my partners this: above money, there's always trust. If there's no trust, there's no money to be made. I remember the days that we have turned down many big corporations who wanted to use our products, make business with us. But I turned them down just because I know that they were going to renegade on the word trust. So we also had partners that trusted in us. Times when we were down, where we were not doing well, but they trusted in us, worked through with us all the way. And yeah, we always had a good relationship. So to me, trust, always number one.
Thank you so much. So we now turn to Q&A, and there are already some questions coming in. There's I think that you should be able to see on the screen, a QR code to submit your questions. Please do that. You can also upvote questions. So let me start with our most upvoted question, which starts by thanking you all for your insights and time. But what strategies do you use to stay resilient and motivated through setbacks? Who would like to answer that one?
Okay.
Sheba?
To stay resilient and on course, I would say one of the strategies that I follow is to be very positive, very positive. Keep learning, because if you don't learn, it just doesn't work. I don't look at people's CVs in terms of what qualifications they have, but really in terms of, sometimes, people say, oh, that person only was there playing football and did this and did that. But you can see a trend of the number of things he was involved with, or what he excelled doesn't necessarily have to be number one in academics. But I would say, yes, those would be my ways of staying focused, by having the right people, choosing the right people, and definitely making sure you have a lot of positivity, because a founder's journey is not easy. It is 24/7 work. It is more no's that you can ever think of, ever, guys, that you have heard in your life, starting from no to capital to everything. But that's where positivity and having the right people next to you will really help.
Thank you.
I think my answer is very, very skewed towards entrepreneurs, startups. So for me, there are definitely times when business was not doing well. And what kept me through was looking at my guys and knowing that they had to go home and feed their family. And if I don't keep the lights on, their family will go hungry. So that kept us going. And I feel like you have to have genuine love for your team, genuine love for your people, and they would be the guys that stick through with you when times are hard.
My strategy is that try to find things you are either passionate about or things you are very good at. Then now, you tend to have less problems. And the number two, as I said, I think sports playing big role, and your life playing big role in solving this kind of problems. That's another strategy to go. And regular habit of doing certain sports and the lifestyle will help you a big way, facing a lot of problems and solving the problems. That's my simple answer. Thank you.
Thank you. We've touched briefly on AI, so I'd like to come back to that. And the questions come in. It's become very easy to start a company now with AI. The barrier to entry into any business is low, and things have become super competitive. How can a person find something truly unique to work on?
Yeah, I guess with AI, it makes everything easy to build. But at the same time, I think the question pointed out, barriers of entry are so low that competitors are building exactly the same thing as you. I think the thinking out of the box part, before you think out of the box, you need to look around and look for real world problems. Because if you are creating something just for the money part of it, that passion might run out sometime. Because when competitors come in, build the same thing, how are you going to fight? But if you are solving a real world problem, that's where your passion will come out and say, I want to solve that problem. And the way how you innovate through it would be different from a competitor who's just trying to solve that problem for money.
From my perspective, I would say AI is huge today. I mean, just in our agency alone, or any advertising or marketing company, what took a copywriter 3 days to create, today ChatGPT or other robotic tools can actually create it for you in 10 minutes, right? But having said that, I will still say that AI can only go that much, because it still needs the human touch and the human understanding. And again, I'm going to go back to Dr. Meena and our book, because that was an amazing thing. And if you remember, Meena, one of the things that came up was, and I then rephrased it into 4 questions. AI is great, but IQ is important. Mm-hmm. If you're not intelligent enough, however intelligent AI you have, it's not going to work. Number two, EQ is equally important. Kindness, compassion, and justice in any decision you take is so important. And finally, D square Q, which is diversity quotient as well as digital quotient. Digital is where AI fits in. So there are three more things to be considered if you really want to be successful with your AI tools too.
Thank you.
I probably also see something different. I mean, AI, on one hand, it did, as we just discussed, give a little bit lower entry barrier for everyone. But number one, it's universal for everyone. Number two, especially in my world, startup world, venture world, we actually found it even difficult for people with just a simple idea and taking just a simple AI tool to start with. This is very difficult. And you can see there are a lot of big investments in AI nowadays. So that being said, nowadays, number one, capital, the AI industry has been very much capitalized, and which means a little bit difficult for just another mediocre funders to be successful. It's actually create a higher barrier if you want to build big ventures and big success. Number two, now in the AI industry, especially when I'm talking about venture world, most of the venture capitalists would need to see the verification of the market. You can see, if you talk to VCs, easily they would like to see, did you verify your idea and your ARR? ARR is almost one of the most popular word when the Silicon Valley investors looking at your startups. And of course, everyone hears a lot of big valuation, big fast-moving stories, but actually there are only not a big number if you look at every one of them. And it's not that easy to create a real ARR, because I was mentioning this especially because I was in internet industry back in the day. You only just tell a story, then you raise the fund, then you burn your money, then you have your users, then you be IPO'd, then you cash out. But for AI, in some way, you are competing with the smartest people, and they had big capital, had a good networking. You need to compete with all these people, which actually becoming a little bit not that easy in a way. So this is my few cents. Thank you.
Thank you. As we start to draw our Q&A to a close, I just want to highlight our Innovation Strategy and Entrepreneurship Research Centre that we have in the business school, and from that centre is Professor Ralph Wilden. I'll get a mic to you, Ralph, to ask a question, and while that's happening, let me pose one of the submitted questions, which has been a popular one. We're in a complex world at the moment. We've got global conflict, we've got tensions, we've got political landscape changing rapidly. How does all this change your approach to operating globally? How does it impact ethical decision making? I'm interested in your view on the political landscape, wars, genocide, political tensions. How has this played out in your own lives?
Maybe I go first. Actually matters to me a lot. I mean, probably especially for Chinese investors, there's a big split between the Chinese ecosystem and the American ecosystem. Again, I'm mentioning this because I did experience the honeymoon time, China and the US, especially when I was younger. I was in the startups in internet times that. China, US, actually in a honeymoon time, we're meeting a lot of successful entrepreneurs, investors from US every day in China, and I flying to Silicon Valley, US all the time. I mean, not only me, a lot of Chinese entrepreneurs and investors going to US all the time. But now, especially if you go into the deep tech and the AI and even crypto technology everything seems to me a little bit splitting. But hopefully, of course, it's changing to the positive way. We can see some signals. And number two, things I want to mention is that I have been lucky. I have been in Australia. Australia could be an interesting neutral place to, especially for Chinese. I mean, for Indian could be very different. Then we could easily build some better rapport with the American side, and of course with the other side. Like for instance, I'm flying to US again next week, just trying to rebuild and met a lot of old friends. I think Australia is a good place to be, especially I can share that after last few years experience in Hong Kong and Singapore, because they both try to be the hub connecting the both sides. But in a way, I don't see those places are perfect doing the job. Australia, even the government didn't mention anything. I think Australia actually in a better position to bridge each other, especially because Australia, in the meantime, I think, of course, they have a very good relationship with the US, and they try to be nice to China as well, especially with the current government. So in my humble observation, I think Australia is a very interesting place for a lot of Chinese investors, and the Chinese entrepreneurs to be, because if you coming from here to US, sometimes they will see you as Australian rather than Chinese. That's different. Anyway, probably I talk too much. Thank you. Yeah.
A very quick one on that. I think politics does play a role in influencing business outcomes and decisions, whether we like it or not. I know Infosys, which is a very huge Indian IT company, and the owner was stated a few years ago that I am what I am despite the government. But I don't buy that, because if you look at India, and I'm heavily involved in the bilateral space. I was a former national chair of the Australia-India Business Council. So we have been, just this October month alone, we had 5 central federal ministers from India visit Australia, which includes the Minister of Trade and Investment and Tourism, Minister Piyush Goyal, to finalize the ECTA, which is the free trade agreement. What PM Modi has done, and I had the opportunity to host him when he first came to Australia, was the fact that he decided to build Brand India. And that Brand India is all about youth, about energy, about thinking outside the box. Like, his whole campaign was social media. And in those days, no political leader just believed in social media. So I would say that politicians, whether it is in government or in opposition, both play a very important role in bolstering up the country's economy. Because at the end of the day, the GDP matters. And that is what it's all about. Because that's what is going to contribute to your life, your day-to-day life for a day-to-day man. So I would say politics very, very important and needs to work in conjunction with the business.
Yeah, war is always bad for business unless you're an arms dealer. But I think Curt accurately defined the 2 big ecosystems in the world, the Chinese ecosystem and the US ecosystem. And I fully agree with him. A neutral country that, like Australia, is best positioned in such a political climate. So you need to look at these ecosystems and see what benefits you can get out of it. For example, no one manufactures cheaper than the Chinese today. It's not because of their cheap labor. It's because the entire supply chain system is so well built that it makes manufacturing so easy and cheap. But the Western world or the US ecosystem do not trust the Chinese for data. So Australia being kind of a neutral place and having a huge domestic market, it's well positioned. If you could think of a solution that utilizes the advantages of the Chinese market, which is cheap hardware, build your data source that you could sell to to the US ecosystem, then you got a viable business. And in Australia, you got a huge domestic market, which you can not only test, but really build a business out of it.
Thank you. And for our last question, Ralph.
Thank you so much for the insights, personal insights and the stories. And you are the examples of how immigrant entrepreneurship can really be valuable and thrive for society. We know a lot of examples from the US market and other big companies that have been founded by immigrants. But my question is more looking to the future. We differentiate now between local and immigrant entrepreneurship. But on the other hand, businesses become born globals with digital business models. A lot of companies start straight like this. So do you think the differentiation between local and immigrant entrepreneurship will actually remain valid, or will it even become more important?
I would like to share something. I think this is a very interesting question, especially in the two sectors we are looking at. Number one is AI, as I mentioned. Another thing is the distributed economy, crypto, Web3. Both of these sectors, as you exactly mentioned, actually they has a chance to become more global from day one. Because if you look at OpenAI and the back days when I was in the internet, like US has Yahoo's and China has its own version, things like that. And Uber in the US and Didi in China kind of thing. But now, of course, OpenAI is the new leader in AI. But a lot of Chinese using OpenAI from day one. There's not a gap there. And in the meantime, a lot of Western people are using DeepSeek. Okay, so the same thing. For crypto, it's the same. I mean, it's more distributed. For whatever startups in crypto you may build, they're distributed from day one. And one interesting thing I would like to share is that for the users, for the internet, you usually categorize your users as different region. Okay, you're from China, you're from US, kind of. But for Web3, the usual way you categorize your users is language, like Spanish, Indian, English. This English means people speaking English everywhere. Indian, the same. It could be Indian in Canada, in Australia, could be in India. So this fundamentally changes the way people see the business. So in a way, they're from global, they could be more globalized with these two technologies penetration more and more. So I found this is very, very fascinating. Yeah, this is my observation. Thank you.
I think from my view, that question's a big question, and I don't really know how to answer, because in my mind, there isn't a difference between a entrepreneur from overseas or a local entrepreneur. In the end, market forces will determine the best product or the best pricing would win. I think all of this, whether it's a local product or overseas product, it's really, or rather in my view, might not be politically correct. It's something created by the politicians to kind of drum up support for themselves. But as an entrepreneur, you are really looking at market fit. If you have something that a market desires, there's actually no difference whether you're an entrepreneur from overseas or local. It's something that the people want.
Just from my context, just going back to that old saying, one size does not fit all. So when you're looking at local entrepreneurs who go global or global entrepreneurs who may come to Australia and set up, I do believe there are some very, very typical traits that all entrepreneurs have. It doesn't matter where they are. Passion, persistence, vision. Because without that, you can get nowhere. And I keep saying that a lot of companies are very successful because their CEOs and their founders have very clear vision. That is so, so important. Then once you have the vision to be able to, and I think it doesn't matter whether you're local or you go global, the next thing you'll do is get a set of people around you who can execute your vision. And believe me, my experience is out of 100 people, that vision will be seen by only 10. Okay? And out of the 10, then you're looking for people who can implement it. You don't want the vision to remain always a vision, right? And out of that 10, you'll find only one person who will be able to implement it and actually adhere to the vision that you had. So I would say there are some very common characteristics and traits, whether you're global or you're an entrepreneur here, because an entrepreneur will always look for the best size, best fit, not one size fits all. So they will look at good talent, maybe from Brazil, maybe I'll get my processes from US, maybe I'll get the robotics from Singapore, maybe from your company, but whatever it is, but I want the best of the best to make my vision come alive. That's it.
I think that's a great spot to end. Thank you so much to our wonderful panellists. Hasn't it been a fascinating conversation? Please give them a round of applause. So many insights I've taken. It's not all about AI. We also need IQ, EQ, and D² Q. It's more important than money is trust. It's important to be hungry and foolish. And I think the big theme of the event, it's all about passion. And I think all three of you have demonstrated that so amply. Thank you so much again.
Thank you.